What's good, fam? Welcome back to the zone. It's been a hot minute, but I'm finally back. Shout out to all of y'all, whether you're new to the channel, one of the OG subscribers, or even one of the new subscribers from the last couple of videos. I truly appreciate y'all. Now that the brutal test is out of the way, in fact, I just learned this week that I passed and can start planning to take the next test. I also started a long overdue DIY project which slowly come together, but I felt something was missing in my life. That's when I realized it's time for me to get back to the thing that I love, which is gaming. Now, I gotta talk about the elephant in the room, which is that 2K23 is out, and we're still on 2K21. So hear me out, fam. There's a reason for this madness. First off, I want to finish the season and potentially the next season. That's because to build an entirely fictional roster, you need a minimum of 450 players and then an additional 150 players for the first draft class. Although I have an approach to do this, if you remember, I had a video way back when, I think it was like episode 2, but stemming from my experience with this season, I realized that I also need to focus on tendencies so that we can get some better gameplay from the players in the league that are not controlled by me. Plus, I have some surprises in store in the upcoming draft class that I want y'all to see. Now that said, I have plans on the hopper to get this league into the latest 2K, but it's going to take some time, so hopefully you'll still be rocking with me by that point. Now to the episode at hand. We're starting off the FBL semi-conference finals, and in round 1, we had a few upsets, so if you missed it, I suggest you check out episode 21 for the details of what happened. The link will be in the description and at the end of this vid. But today, we have game 1 of the Spurs vs Lakers series, as well as game 1 of the Bulls vs Magic series. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Out the gate, Seth Gibbs punished the Lakers for their poor interior defense after nearly getting Raphael to jump out of the stadium to easily score at the rim. Now, coming into this game, Raphael reviewed the Mavericks' loss to the Spurs in round 1 with the team, with the focus on how to improve their defensive schemes. With Richard Green out with an injury, getting stops and converting them into points is how the Lakers would best beat the Spurs. Despite this, the start of the game was rough for the Lakers, man. The Spurs were able to continuously score in the paint, and the Lakers were lacking around the perimeter, letting their matchups run by them on several occasions, and on top of that, the Lakers had poor transitions off the fast break. Even when the Lakers made good stops, there was some tomfoolery that the Spurs capitalized on. Case in point, Gilbert had a great stop on Spencer Wang here, but Raphael couldn't recover the ball, and Jeffrey Humphrey Jr. beelined straight to the rim while everyone on the Lakers just watched him do it. The Lakers started off this game with a lot, and I do mean a lot, of shenanigans. Peep how Leo Yamasaki and Sidney Frazier didn't even bother to help Raphael out. If the Lakers kept this up, they were in for a very long game, at home no less. Now down by 4, Deion King saw the mismatch, and yet the 6'6" Malik Ashley sunned the 7'2" Gilbert Hajiwara to get a huge stop. The Lakers were only down by 4, but to me, they were down bad. On the next play, Raphael had 2 people to guard. He chose to pick up Jeffrey Humphrey Jr., thinking Sidney Frazier would pick up Spencer Wang. With the right amount of space, Spencer can be a sharpshooter. This poor decision resulted in an easy mid-range shot from the elbow, Spurs 10, Lakers 6. At the 7-minute mark, Raphael started to get more aggressive by taking advantage of Seth Gibbs' injury, finishing at the rim with the jelly. Raphael isn't as explosive as his brother Miles, but it'd be foolish not to consider him an offensive threat. Still up by 3, the Spurs weren't about to take their foot off the gas. Despite his injury, Seth Gibbs was running laps around Deion King, who allowed another 2 points at the rack. Towards the end of the first, the Lakers finally found their groove defensively and started to convert those stops into points. Leo Yamasaki finally got some points on the board off the fast break over Joel Cousins to bring the game to within 5. Jumping into the second, I can't hold you, I was shocked to see that the bench was able to change the tide with the Lakers leading by 11. But sheesh! Seth Gibbs immediately buried a 3 to put the Lakers on notice that he was just getting started. Deion was out here struggling. Deion was clearly getting frustrated, and on the next play decided that he wanted in on the action. Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. was playing up close, so Deion patiently waited for the play to develop. Raphael moved into position to set the screen, which gave Deion the space he needed. With a quick first step, Dion exploded around the corner to finish at the rim with a dunk. The Lakers appeared to be performing better on both sides of the ball, especially when it came to picking up their defensive matchups, contesting shots, and converting those stops into points in the paint. However, the Lakers were still struggling around the perimeter. As I mentioned before, if Spencer Wang is given the right amount of space, he can be a sharpshooter. On this play, Raphael didn't pick up Spencer, who hit a mean green from 3, punishing him for the poor judgment. To keep it a stack, Spencer is a threat wherever he is on the court. The Lakers really didn't have an answer for him during the entire first half. And on this next play, the Lakers showed just how sloppy they can be sometimes. Jeffrey Humphrey Jr. almost picked Dion King's pockets, but fortunately, they were able to recover the ball. After a few passes, Raphael was given the rock. He made sure to exploit Seth Gibbs' injury every time they matched up, and right here, Raphael hit Seth with a quick cross and got a lucky roll on the deep 2, Lakers up by 9. But just as Raphael mixed Seth, Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. repaid the favor by mixing Raphael and scoring a deep 2 as well. My goodness. Jeffrey had that boy Raphael on skates, had my boy looking real sus out there. But the fun didn't stop there. With a little under 5 minutes left in the half, Spencer Wang and Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. had the Lakers' full attention. As a result, Raphael switched on to Spencer and Dion switched on to Jeffrey. With some good defense, Jeffrey forced up a shot, but then it happened. But Sean Fisher made me jump out of my seat with this monster putback dunk. Sheesh! The Lakers absolutely had to call a timeout after that. My goodness. After the reset, the Lakers started playing smarter by slowing down the pace and allowing plays to develop. As in this case, Dion King was getting double, but he's got wicked vision. He found Raphael in the corner, who hit a mean green for 3 to keep the Lakers' margin of safety alive. They better put some respect on Raphael's jump shot, for real, for real. On the next possession though, Raphael got sloppy defensively, I won't lie. Leo Yamasaki was doing his best to guard Jeffrey Humphreys Jr., who passed the rock to Rex Knight. Spencer Wang stepped up and provided a sturdy pick, which gave Rex Knight the space he needed to hit a green midi from the elbow, bringing the score to within 7 points. I can't hold you, Rex Knight could be a sleeper, but he isn't the greatest threat on the Spurs, averaging 9 points in the playoffs. Now, this was soon followed by another error where Raphael threw the ball off Malik Ashley's foot, which resulted in a spinning layup from Jeffrey Humphrey Jr. on the other end, and one. Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. was in his bag for real. Hit Raphael with a mean spin move. Love to see it, hate to experience it. With only a 4-point lead and under 3 minutes left in the half, Raphael tried to redeem himself by hitting another 3-point comet from the top of the arc after a pick from Gilbert Hajiwara. It wasn't green, but it was still a mean 3 points to drill home the fact that the Lakers still have some fight in them. Lakers 53, Spurs 46. Leo Yamasaki was pretty much ice cold for the majority of the game. After moving off the ball, Dion found him, after which Leo hit a mean green from 3 as well to take a 10-point lead with under 2 minutes left in the quarter. I wish he was more consistent on offense, which could create more options for the Lakers. At the half, the Lakers were up by 12, led by Raphael, who had 17 points, 8 boards, and 2 assists, whereas Jeffrey Humphrey Jr. led the way for the Spurs with 13 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists. Both teams were fairly evenly matched, with the Lakers performing moderately better than the Spurs, but the game would be far from over. At the start of the third, Seth Gibbs did the same thing he did to start the game. You'll find that Seth wasn't moving around a lot, so Dion gave Seth space to potentially help out his teammates on the interior. But that little amount of space is what Seth needed to hit a mean green from 3, letting Dion King know to 1, respect his jumper, and 2, that Dion can't guard him. Not too long after this, Dion King didn't learn his lesson. This time around, Dion got caught on a pick from Joel Cousins, which gave Seth enough space to hit a deep mid-range shot from the elbow, pump fake, sidestep to draw the pick, and a quick pull for 2. Seth Gibbs is literally on 1 fully functional leg, and yet he was giving Dion King the business. Pause. Look at this man hobble up the court. That's tough. Now, early in the game, Raphael was switched on to Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. because Dion King was getting cooked by Jeffrey, for us only to watch Dion King struggle against Seth as well. But look at Raphael attacking the rim for a quick 2 points. Raphael was exploiting Seth's injury every chance he had. I wish he had a better dunk package though, but his attributes aren't there for him. You think I should create an upgrading system on top of what's in the game? Let me know down below in the comments. With 10 minutes left in the game, Raphael started to play wiser and drew out Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. and Malik Ashley, which left Dion open at the top of the key to shoot a nice jumper for 2. Lakers up by 10. Now near the 9-minute mark, Raphael was a bit too aggressive on defense yet again. He got caught reaching, which Sadiq Kinsey used to find Jeffrey Humphreys Jr., who shot a mean green from 3, bringing the Spurs deficit down to 9 points. Raphael definitely slept on Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. and was slowly learning to adjust his game accordingly. Surprisingly on the season, Jeffrey only averaged 10 points, which is the 4th highest in scoring on the Spurs. And look at Rex Knight scoring over Raphael with one of the animations I hate the absolute most. But anyway, at the 7-minute mark, the Spurs were down by 4, and Rex Knight tried to score in the paint again, just as he did in the last possession, but Gilbert Hajiwara wasn't having it. The Spurs continued to double up Raphael, leaving Gilbert wide open for the shot. Surprisingly, he not only missed the shot, but also Leo Yamasaki got the board and the second chance points. Certainly bizarre times. At this point, the battle was heating up between the two teams. The Spurs continued their great ball movement to score in the paint. Nice find by Kenny Lloyd to find Spencer Wang under the basket for 2. Even after a few hiccups, Raphael continued to press the Spurs offensively, showing he could get to the rack just like his little brother Miles to extend the Lakers' lead to 13. Now, after a few stops in succession, Raphael baited Abe Price into thinking he got beat off the dribble, only to block Abe's shot at the last second. And on the opposite end of the court, Raphael tried to let the play develop, but didn't like what he saw when Sheldon Moss had the rock. Looking to reset the team, Raphael called for the rock and handed it to Dion King. Seeing an opportunity, Raphael jet passed Abe Price to finish at the rack for another 2 points. Although they were down by 19, the Spurs weren't able to tap out. Rex Knight lost Sheldon Moss around the pick, who switched on to Joel Cousins. Pablo Knox, on the other hand, was late to react. Seeing this, Rex Knight pulled a quick jumper and hit a mean green from 3 in Pablo's face. Oof. I was salty when this happened, but I won't cap. That was a good shot. At the start of the 4th, the Spurs were down by 15 with an uphill battle because the Lakers' defense was clicking on all cylinders. Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. continued his attack on the interior and caught Raphael lacking a few times, but every time he did, Raphael made sure to return the favor either on the interior or close to the basket. There were even spurts of aggressiveness from Xander Underwood, who despite his 6'1 frame, wasn't afraid to take close shots, hitting a nice leaning jumper for 2 points. I'm hoping Xander can improve his shooting around the perimeter as the series goes on. I know that on the season he shot 37 from beyond the arc, which isn't bad, but he made 55 threes compared to a total of 180 shots. If he improves his efficiency beyond the arc, this would help the overall spacing for the team and the bench scoring. But nonetheless, the Lakers continued what at this point was defensive dominance, so much so that the Spurs pulled their starters out and put the 2nd and 3rd string team members in. However, the Lakers coach was an absolute savage. I'm assuming because he wanted to make a statement by keeping the starting 5 in for the entire quarter. When it was all said and done, the Lakers would end up defeating the Spurs by a 37-point landslide of 126 to 89. Now keep it a stack with me before I even get into the box scores. Do y'all like how I narrate the videos thus far with the gameplay? If not, let me know in the comments and give me some suggestions on how I can improve this overall video experience. Now with that out of the way, Raphael had a great game offensively against the Spurs with 47 points, which is 1 point away from his season high of 48. He also had 16 boards, 7 assists, 1 steal, and 6 blocks on 61% shooting with 10 made free throws. But he has some work to do on reducing his turnovers, which for this game was 4. Now Leo Yamasaki though, he shocked the crap out of me, being the 2nd highest scorer in points with 20 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, and 2 blocks on 50% shooting. Just imagine if Leo was more consistent. The Lakers would have an actual big 4. In this game, Dion almost had a triple-double with 16 points, 9 boards, and 13 assists on 50% shooting as well, followed by AC Norris, who gave the Lakers 12-5-2 off of 71% shooting. Super surprising. Offensively, Gilbert was out here looking sus, shooting for 20%, but he did get to the line a few times, had 12 boards and 5 blocks. Sheesh. Pablo himself had 7 3-1, and as the 6th man with 33% shooting, which is why the lineup was changed to keep it a buck with you. Sure, Sidney didn't do much better offensively, but defensively, Sidney contributed as well as he could and as he should, which is why I placed him in the starting 5 to help get things done. As for the Spurs, Jeffrey Humphreys Jr. did his thing. I can't hold you, man. He had 21 points, 8 boards, 6 assists on 44% shooting. And surprising to me, Jeffrey only had 1 made 3-point shot, although to me it felt like it was way more than that in the actual game. Another shocker to me was that Seth Gibbs, who only had 14 points, it felt like he had more points than that in the game. I'll attribute this to his injury, since coming back he averaged close to 18 points in the playoffs, but on the season he averaged 19. Spencer Wang definitely had an off night despite his 13-point and 13-board double-double, shooting 31% from the field. Then we have Malik Ashley, who is a bit of a pest, but not as much as the Spurs would like, only with 11 points, but on great efficiency. On top of that, he also had 3 assists and 4 blocks. The Spurs coach should definitely consider getting him more touches in the series, as well as considering some of the defensive matchups, considering that, he had 4 blocks. Now, this was followed by Joel Cousins, who had 10 points, 6 boards, and 2 steals on 50% shooting. Overall, this game was a great start for the Lakers, but they absolutely cannot let up, because we saw what happened to the Mavs back in episode 21. The Spurs have the potential to turn up if the defense is caught lacking, and as we saw in this game, there have been several moments where the Lakers defense was sus, and the Spurs could easily capitalize on this if they want to. But let's move on to our next matchup, where we have the Bulls, who upset the Bucks in a 7-game series last episode, who are going up against the Magic, who trounced the Toronto Raptors. Now, the Magic finished the season with 51 wins compared to the Bulls, who had 47 wins, but the Magic were more successful at home than they were on the road, whereas the Bulls performed the same whether they were home or not. The division records between the two teams were the same at 12-4, but things get interesting when you look at the points per game compared to the points allowed per game. So for example, the Magic averaged 110.5 points per game compared to 105.8 points allowed per game, which equates to a 4.7 point differential on the season. When you look at the Bulls, they averaged 108.6 points per game compared to 105.2 points allowed per game, which equates to a 3.4 point differential on the season. So from a point perspective, the Magic were 4th out of the East and the Bulls were 6th, but defensively, the Bulls were 4th and the Magic were 5th. So let's see if the Bulls can pull off another upset, because personally, I'm looking for excitement in our first ever FBL playoffs. I hope you feel the same. Now hold on fam, before we dive in, I need you to do me a favor. Let me know what you think about this format down below in the comments, please and thank you. Diving into game 1 between Bulls versus the Magic, the game didn't start up until about a minute in because both teams had issues fouling each other. On top of that, the play calling was a bit haphazard to start things off, but G. Williams was able to get on the scoreboard with a floater off the backboard over Alex Lewis for the first points of the game. Now immediately after this, EJ Flores accelerated around all of the Bulls to finish with his own floater to tie the game. And on the next play, Skylar Cash himself impressed me with how he mixed up Darren Harper to finish at the rim. No cap, I stood up yelling at the screen, "Don't judge me." Skylar hit Darren with the double cross and the jelly. Let's go. Fast forward to the 7-minute mark, EJ Flores showed how quick he is again, not only by losing Roland Johnston around the pick, but also jetting past all of the Bulls to cram it in at the rim. AJ West wanted none of that smoke, fam. He just watched EJ run by him without trying to defend the paint. It was another easy 2 points for EJ. But one of the more interesting battles on the hardwood this game was between Darren Harper and AJ West. The battle started off slow with a little back and forth, with Darren making a tough lay on this play right here. This was then followed by a great off-the-ball movement by AJ West to make a deep range shot. In fact, if AJ's big toe wasn't on the line, that could have easily been a 3-point shot. I gotta give Skylar Cash credit, because that was a good find on the wing. Darren Harper answered right back though, after setting a pick for EJ Flores and rolling to the basket for a 2-handed dunk. Look at this no-look pass from EJ Flores though. This was straight fire. There was a lot of solid playmaking and defense in the first quarter alone, but it was safe to say that AJ took Darren's dunk personally. After getting the handoff from Skylar Cash, he hit a mean green midi from the elbow over Darren. I can't tell you how many times the lead was changed during this first quarter, but just know that it was back and forth between the two teams. Now to continue my thought about the playmaking, case in point right here. EJ drew the double team, which left Darren Harper wide open at the perimeter for his own mid-range shot at the elbow. EJ Flores with the vision despite being heavily guarded, and Darren making the right shot. You love to see it. Now let's not forget that EJ Flores was carrying the team while Darren was out with an injury early in the season. In fact, he racked up a season high of 44 points, 8 3-pointers made, and 21 assists, on roughly 50% shooting from the field, which is nothing to sneeze at for what could be considered an undersized 5. And then we have Kieran Doyle, the old head on the team, finishing at the rack to take a 1-point lead with under 4 minutes left to spare in the quarter. What I liked about this game specifically was that everyone on both teams was contributing. Here we have Glenn Baldwin, who impressed me a few episodes back, driving to the basket only to get stopped by Ruben Hernandez at the rim. You gotta respect great defense, man. And with a little under 3 minutes left, Lance Baylor showed off some of the skills we haven't really seen since the beginning of the season. His handles are almost elite, and here Lance hit a tough floater over the 7'1" Irvin Best to tie the game. Not too long after, the second overall pick Carson Shepard showed just why he was the second overall pick. He hit him with a half spin and shot a floater over Irvin Best as well. Don't let the 5'10" frame fool you into thinking Carson is not about that action. Carson averaged 11 points for the regular season, almost 4 boards, and 3 assists on 41% shooting. Now on this play, peep the great defense by Lance Baylor to rip Kieran Doyle. Couple this with the dot he threw to Glenn Baldwin, who was leaking, and finished at the rim with a one-handed dunk to seal this highlight play. The Bulls were up by 6 with almost a minute left in the quarter. Now, don't worry, the Magic were able to close the deficit to 3 points, but the battle was just getting started. The Magic crowded the paint for some reason, but Glenn Baldwin was wide open and shot a mean green from 3 to expand the Bulls' lead. It's wild that Ruben left Glenn wide open, despite Glenn shooting 48% from beyond the arc during the season. Now, he doesn't shoot the 3 ball often, but when he does, he's fairly on point. Now, jumping into the second quarter, the Magic were down by 4 and not rushing to take any poor shots or make any poor plays. Emmanuel Labissiere let the play develop and got the pick he needed to create the space for an open shot at the elbow, bringing the game to within 2 points. This was definitely one of Emmanuel's more intelligent plays to keep the Magic in the hunt for the win. Now, after a quick stop, Darren Harper showed why he averaged 28 points for the season on 50% shooting from the field with this tough make over Lance Baylor to tie the game. We've seen Darren take a few tough shots this game thus far, for which has been impressive, I can't hold you. The Bulls really didn't have an answer for Darren on the low block, to keep it a buck. With close to 9 minutes left in the half, AJ West was looking for the right opportunity to get back on the board. His matchup against Darren had a lot of back and forth strikes, with Darren leading in the plus-minus, but AJ got the best of Darren on this play with a nice feed from Shannon Cage for a quick 2 points. At the 6-minute mark, Alex Lewis should have just been wearing Timbs at this point because his game was colder than New York in March. However, the team pulled together and got Darren Harper the rock again on the low post. But what I found funny was that AJ West didn't want any of Darren's post work, and he backed away, which gave Darren an easy shot. Keep how AJ slides to the left while covering himself. I can't help but laugh. The score is now 46-44. But Darren wasn't just beasting offensively, his presence was also felt in the paint defensively. He wasn't just challenging AJ West, but he also gave Shannon Cage some problems. However, there were moments like this where AJ got the best of Darren as he drove towards the rack to score on a tough make. This battle between the two forwards was definitely fun to watch, and at this point was just getting started. This was a great feat from G. Williams to set AJ up to score. It seemed as if every time the Bulls would start the game momentum, the Magic would find a way to dampen the run. So going back to Alex Lewis, who was freezing at this point, off the fast break, he caught a dot from Elias Larson to bury a much-needed 3-point shot to end his cold streak and reduce the deficit to 3 points. But the Bulls wouldn't let up, with Rocky Chambers hitting a mean green midi from the elbow. The Magic were now down by 9 and needed to get some points on the board quickly before going into the break. Here we have Kieran Doyle with the vision, throwing a lead pass to EJ Flores, who finished with a rather delicate dunk. Following this, the Magic were able to get a quick stop and capitalize on the fast break yet again, this time with Elias Larson finishing out the rack with more of a power dunk. The Magic were now within 5 and a minute left in the quarter. Oof! Emmanuel Labissiere had a bit of sauce out there, but the feed was much better. Ruben Hernandez got back into the action because there was no way Carson Shepard and his 182-pound frame could guard the 238-pound Hernandez in the post. Ruben saw he had a baby on him and used the drop step to his advantage to score before the buzzer. At the half, the Magic were only down by 2, led by Elias Larson, who had 14 points and 4 boards, whereas Skylar Cash was leading the Bulls with 13 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists. Both teams had pluses and minuses, and in the third, the battle will only intensify. In the first 5 minutes of the quarter, Darren Harper and EJ Flores worked together to get AJ West caught on a pick that allowed Darren to finish at the rack. I will say there were some questionable defensive choices. Roland Johnson could have easily switched on to Darren, which would have neutralized Darren's drive, but he and AJ West focused on EJ Flores instead. But look at that tough make from Darren Harper over AJ West yet again. 3 minutes have now passed, and it seemed that AJ wanted to attack the basket as a form of payback, but to everyone's surprise, he dumped it down to Shannon Cage for an easy standing dunk under the basket. AJ had Elias Larson jumping out his kicks on that play. I gotta admit that was a nice feed, but I think this next play was even better. The Bulls were on the fast break when Darren Harper having to choose between G. Williams and AJ West. G. Williams with a nice no-look behind the back pass to AJ West discombobulated Darren Harper. AJ's shot brought the Bulls lead to 5 points. At the 8-minute mark, Spencer Ryan hit G. Williams with the mean, and I mean mean crossover and had G on skates. I thought he was going to pull it, but he did it. Instead, he drew the defender out the paint, which allowed Alex Lewis to cut to the basket and finish with a dunk at the rim. Now, down by 1, Darren was pesky as heck. He not only picked Skylar Cash's pockets, but he then proceeded to slowly make his way to the basket and laid the rock up over Skylar Cash to help the Magic take the lead for the first time since the first quarter. It's no wonder that he was under consideration for the MVP earlier in the season because of this play on both sides of the court. Now, the momentum shifted in the Bulls' favor, unfortunately, because defensively, the Magic were folded. Darren Harper was guarding Carson Shepard and got caught on Lance Baylor's pick. With so much space, naturally, Carson had to pull it, hitting a mean three-pointer to expand the Bulls' lead. At this point, there was a lot of back and forth between the two teams, starting with Kieran Doyle's dunk in the paint off the deep pass from Emmanuel Labissiere. This was quickly followed with the dunk by Roland Johnson after the feed by AJ West. But then, Carson Shepard ripped Emmanuel Labissiere and dished the rock to Lance Baylor, who easily scored over Kieran Doyle. The Bulls are now leading 81-75. With close to 5 minutes left in the quarter, the Magic slowed down the pace a little bit and focused on moving the ball around for the right opportunity. Kieran Doyle surprised everyone, especially me, by shooting at the elbow after the pick and roll. I think this possession was more surprising because of Kieran's quicker than normal jump shot rather than the fact that he took the shot. Overall, I think it was a great decision because no one was prepared for it. About a minute later, Lance Baylor brought back the same energy we saw back in the first quarter. Lance called an ISO against Kieran Doyle and hit him with the hezzy, tween, and the Euro lay over both Kieran Doyle and Irvin Best. As the end of the quarter drew near, the Magic, specifically Darren Harper, still had some fight in him. Off the pass from Kieran Doyle, Darren quickly scored 2 points off the glass. Soon after, the Magic got a much-needed stop, and yet again, Darren Harper scored 2 points, this time in the paint over Glenn Baldwin. Now, with just a 4-point lead, the Bulls got messy. Emmanuel Labissiere stole the ball and with his vision found Kieran Doyle in the corner, who took a shot for 3, but he bricked it. Darren went full Hulk mode to get the board and the second chance points. That's now 6 straight points from Darren to reduce the deficit, but wait, there's more. Off the fast break, Kieran saw Darren Harper cutting towards the basket and dished the rock at the right time for Darren to hammer it down. It's now a tied game. The Bulls were able to quickly score, and just like before, EJ Flores ignored the pick and roll and just to cut to the basket for 2 points. EJ may not be a true big, but he's truly impactful. With less than 9 seconds left and a 2-point lead, Rocky Chambers shocked everyone by burying a deep 3-point shot to extend the lead right before the end of the quarter. Rocky isn't the type to take that shot, but when he does, he makes it 40% of the time. Woo, child, that was intense, but we finally get to the fourth, and I have to admit, I was loving this game, and there was still 12 minutes to go. Here we have Alex Lewis trying to sauce up Skylar Cash, and to my surprise, Alex made a tough shot over Skylar. Tween, hezzy, a little bump, and a tough make. This game was a very physical game with a total of 27 fouls between the two teams, most of which happened in the paint. But not this time, Shannon Cage with the bully ball for 2 points. Now the Magic was still down by 4, and at the 9-minute mark, they were playing solid defense. They made the right switches, cut off the right lanes, but forgot to protect the paint. Skylar Cash drew the defense well with a nice behind-the-back pass to Shannon Cage, who finished at the rim with ease. I don't know how many times the Bulls had a play like this, but the playmaking was incredible for both teams this game, especially the Bulls. Now, not too long after, Spencer Ryan threw what I thought would be a pass towards the paint, but instead, it was a dot to Kieran Doyle, who took a crazy fadeaway twisting shot for 2 points. This was one of the top plays, if not the top play of the game in my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Still a 5-point game and enough time to come back. The Magic ran a similar pick and roll play with the star being EJ Flores this time. And I can't hold you, EJ had me questioning Roland's defensive abilities because ain't no way a 7'4" dude is getting bullied by a 6'8" dude in the paint like that. No way. Now the score was 110 to 105, and off the fast break, Alex Lewis found Spencer Ryan, who hit a mean green from 3 to shut up the Bulls bench and bring the game to within 2 points. That was a clutch shot from the rookie who shot 21% from the arc during the regular season. That's crazy now that I think about it. But nonetheless, at the 5-minute mark, G. Williams finally got back in the action and wanted all the smoke. Hold on a second. Ooh, ooh, ooh! Sauce Kieran Doyle up and finished the play with a nice jump shot. Had that boy on skates, my gosh. I don't know what it was, but after that play, the Bulls had newfound energy. AJ West off the wing hit a mean green from 3 and flexed on the Magic in the process, shutting up both the bench and the crowd. But Darren Harper was not about to quit. He laid in the cut on this next play and gave his teammates an opportunity to shine, but Elias Larson missed his shot, so Darren pushed G. Williams to the side and saved the play with a putback dunk. The game was now 115 to 110, and not a lot of time left. Now, this next play had me a bit disappointed, I can't hold you. With all of the great plays the Magic had in this quarter, they went and made this poor decision leaving Roland Johnson open in the paint for an easy 2 points. They needed to do better. Sure, Skylar's Cash is a threat, but don't leave the paint wide open, bruh. Now down by 7, the Bulls continued to add pressure. Elias Larson got shook and passed the rock to Spencer Ryan, who was contested at the rim by AJ West. Now off the fast break, AJ West passed the rock to G. Williams, and whoa, got Elias Larson in the air and dished the rock to Roland Johnson in the paint. That was a mean pump fake. Sheesh. Yet another great read by G and a play overall from the Bulls. Down by 9 with close to 3 minutes left, Darren Harper dished the rock to Spencer Ryan, who I thought would shoot it at the arc, but he didn't. Making his way towards the rim, he was met with a huge block by AJ West. Off the fast break yet again, G. Williams faked Alex Lewis as if he was going to take a shot from the elbow, but instead found Skylar Cash in the paint for another 2 points. Yet another great play by G. Williams. Now leading by 11, the Bulls added salt to the injury, tormenting the Magic again with G. Williams scoring in the paint after the feed from AJ West. The Magic's defensive scheme completely fell apart in the last 5 minutes of the game after such a great battle. This was only game 1 and such a roller coaster ride, but the Bulls beat the Magic 127 to 118. What a game. Skylar Cash, the G League phenom, is the player of the game with a ridiculous stat line. He had 22 points, 12 boards, 10 assists, shooting 10 for 10 from the field and 2 for 2 from the line. Insane. Kudos to Skylar Cash on the honors. Man, I thought that game was fire. I hope you felt the same way. Starting off with the Magic box score, Darren Harper had a solid game with 28 points, 8 boards, 2 steals, and 2 blocks on 78% shooting. EJ Flores had a great game as well with 24 points, 2 boards, 5 assists on 67% shooting, but we're not going to talk about his 3-point shooting. Elias Larson's stat line surprised me because I thought he performed worse than this, but I'm actually happy I was wrong. He had 20 points, 7 boards on 70% shooting and 100% shooting from the free throw line. Then, we have Kieran Doyle, who left his heart on the hardwood, man. He averaged 8 points on the season, but at this point in the playoffs, he was averaging 12 points per game, with this game being his best thus far in the playoffs. He had 17 points, 3 boards, and 5 assists on 62% shooting. Then we have Spencer Ryan, who bounced back from his last game against Toronto, where he didn't score in the entire 28 minutes that he played. In this game, he had 12 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, and 2 steals, but the 29% shooting wasn't it. Followed by him, we have Alex Lewis, who surprisingly had a double-double. I'd expect that from Darren Harper and EJ Flores, but certainly not Alex, especially when you consider the fact that he was ice cold for the majority of the first half. But nonetheless, he had 11 points, 5 boards, and 10 assists on 38% shooting. Then, we have Emmanuel, Ruben, and Irvin, who left much to be desired offensively, but I must admit, they performed well on defense. They just need to keep their eyes peeled and be more consistent, especially in the paint. Moving on to the Bulls, AJ led the team in scoring to my surprise with 24 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, and a block on 55% shooting. And I can't hold you, I thought he had single-digit points the way Darren Harper was shutting him down, or at least I thought Darren Harper was shutting him down. Nonetheless, Skylar Cash, we already know, had a crazy game, which was by far his best game in the playoffs to date with this wicked triple-double. Then we have Roland Johnston, who had 21 of them things, which also shocked me. To think he had more points than G. Williams, who only had 8 points, is wild to me. Roland had a solid double-double with 21 points and 11 boards on 56% shooting. Then we have Glenn Baldwin, the underdog, definitely contributed with his 15 points, but he needs to work on his efficiency with 15 points on 29% shooting. Then we have Shannon Cage, who also had a double-double with 13 points and 12 boards on 36% shooting, followed by Rocky Chambers, G. Williams, Lance Baylor, and the second overall pick, Carson Shepard, all who contributed in their own right. The entire 9-man rotation did their thing this game, so kudos to the Bulls for pulling through the hard-fought battle and taking it in the fourth quarter. And that is it for this video, fam. It feels great to be back, and to me, this is a great video to come back to. If you made it this far in the vid, leave Skylar Cash as a point guard down below so that I know you made it to the end of this video. As always, I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy making these videos. I hope you enjoyed the video as well. Until the next episode, fam, keep grinding, keep growing, and keep shining. I'm Ghost. Later.